My beloved child, I want you to pause with me in this moment, as a traveler pauses to examine his shoes carefully before continuing a long road. You have grown accustomed to walking among the relationships I have given you, as though they would always be there, stable and unchanging. But I see movements so subtle that your eyes have not yet noticed them. There are seeds of division that do not arrive through a great event, but like a loose thread on a garment. If it is not tied early, the entire seam will eventually unravel. I warn you not to make you fear losing people, but to awaken you to the sacred value of those I have placed beside you. Each relationship is like a bridge I have built between you and another, so that grace, support, and truth can pass back and forth. The enemy cannot destroy me, so it seeks instead to drill gradually into each bridge, beginning with cracks so small you think they do not matter. I come to you today like an architect, stepping onto a bridge, tapping each beam, showing you where hollowness has begun. If you dismiss the early signs, you will only notice when the bridge trembles beneath your feet. But if you listen to me in time, everything can be reinforced before collapse. Imagine the relationships I have given you as a garden I have entrusted to your care, with each plant representing a person, a bond, a shared story. Some trees are the shade of family, some flowers carry the fragrance of friendship, and some blossoms are those I have placed beside you to carry destiny together. In that soil I have sown seeds of trust, honor, understanding, and kindness, and many of them have rooted deeply. But in that same soil the winds of life scatter tiny weeds, a hint of quiet resentment, a small unspoken disappointment, a moment of comparison, a hidden judgment of the heart. At first they appear only as tiny green dots, and you think ignoring them does no harm because the larger trees still look fresh. Yet weeds always know how to spread. They slip into the roots, slowly draining nourishment meant for the true plants, until one day you wonder why you are still in the same relationship, yet no longer carry joy and rest as before. I warn you because I see the first strands of weeds already sprouting around the roots of important trees in your garden. And I do not want you to lose the garden I entrusted to you simply because you were too lazy to pull out what seemed small. When you allow me to walk with you through each row of soil, I will show you which plants to keep, which weeds to uproot, and I will give you the strength to do it in love, not bitterness. There are seeds of division that enter not only through what others do to you, but through the way you interpret everything in your heart. Your mind is like a room with many windows, and every thought you accept becomes a colored pane placed over the glass. When an unintended word slips through the lens of an old wound, it is instantly stained, and you hear something the other person never truly said. From one sentence, your mind begins to weave an entire narrative. They no longer value me. They are drifting away. They only use me. These narratives are like spider webs stretched across the room, thin and nearly invisible at first, then thickened until they block the true light. I come knocking on that room and I say to you, let me change the windows. Let me sweep the webs. Let me help you see that relationship again through truth, not through wounds. If you refuse me and continue to feed those imagined stories, the seed of division will grow until you believe it is reality, and you will begin treating the other person according to what you think, not according to what I see. I do not want you to live inside the fabricated stories of darkness when you are called to walk in liberating truth. I also want you to recognize the seeds of division that come from side voices you allow into the sacred space of your relationships. There are opinions, advice, and comments that are not anointed by me. Yet you let them take up residence in your heart simply because they sound reasonable or align with your wounded feelings. They are like drops of ink falling into a clear glass of water. Only 1 or 2 drops are enough to change its color. When someone tells you, that person doesn't seem genuine, if it were me, I wouldn't tolerate that, or you deserve better, and you do not bring those words before me to be tested in the spirit, they begin to repaint the image of the one I placed beside you in a distorted way. I do not call you to blind trust, but I call you to discern from me, not from your pain or pride. When you make me the standard, every piece of advice, every voice must stand beneath the light of my word. When you make your emotions the standard, everything that satisfies your ego is labeled wisdom. I warn you, because I see some drops of ink have already fallen, but it is still not too late to pour out that glass before it is used to water the garden of relationships I have given you. What I long for is that you become an active guardian of the relationships I have established, not a passive victim of silent fractures. Guarding does not mean suspecting everyone. It means you keep your heart under my hand, so no seed of bitterness, doubt, or arrogance is allowed to stay long without being examined. Guarding means you dare to face the real emotions of your heart in my presence before they are released as harsh words or cold actions. Guarding means you value the relationship enough to bend down and remove the small stones from the path, instead of waiting until the entire road breaks and then lamenting. I warn you today because I see how deeply your destiny is tied to the people I have chosen to walk with you. If you allow these invisible seeds of division to grow, you will not only lose people, you will lose the layers of support I intended to deliver to you through them. I call you to rise, not to strain yourself holding everything by your own strength, but to take my hand in preserving these sacred bridges. When you agree to become a guardian with me, every seed of division will be exposed, and what I have joined together will be protected. Seeds of division within holy relationships arrive quietly like a thin dust, settling on the surface of the soul, making you think a simple brush of the hand is enough. They make no loud noise, offer no clear sign of conflict, but slip in. During moments you overlook a glance, misunderstood, a word left unexplained, a silence that suddenly feels heavier than usual. That thin dust, if not wiped away by humility and honest conversation, accumulates into a dull layer that dims the light of truth. As that haze thickens, you begin to lose sight of others' goodwill, and what was once pure becomes distorted in your interpretation. From a tiny, unnoticed particle, it can become the beginning of a hidden storm that blinds the heart to where love lies and where assumptions have taken over. Seeds of division are also like foreign seeds carried by the wind into the garden. I entrusted to your care at first so small that the human eye cannot detect them. They lie still beneath the soft soil, hidden among the good seeds I have sown, waiting for the warmth of self-importance to sprout. When their roots begin to spread, they do not drive downward like healthy plants. They stretch sideways, draining nourishment from the roots of love and trust. The danger is not in how fast they grow, but in their absolute silence, no sound, no warning, only the quiet weakening of what is most precious. Then one day you look upon the garden of your heart and find flowers that once bloomed beautifully now wilted without knowing why. The reason began with a tiny seed you once thought too insignificant to care about. Division can enter your life like a hairline crack on a stone slab, looking too insignificant to be worth attention. Yet when water slips in and the night arrives with its cold, that crack is slowly forced open. Your heart is the same, an unsaid word, a wound left unexplained, a doubt not lifted in prayer. Each can seep in like water through a fracture. Then when emotions shift and pressure rises, the cracks suddenly widen and make you feel as though someone has betrayed you, when in truth, it was your own heart that neglected its healing long ago. Division does not shatter a relationship in a single day. It grows like water, patient and persistent, soaking hour by hour. Only truth and tenderness can fill a crack before it becomes a canyon. Many times division does not arise from what others do, but from how you look through the mirror of your heart once it has been clouded. A simple sentence suddenly takes on a sarcastic tone, an innocent gesture becomes a threat, a moment of silence transforms into indifference. The enemy does not need a dramatic event to destroy connection. He only needs to fog the mirror of your heart. And when the mirror is fogged, you stop seeing others through the eyes of the Father and instead see them through assumptions shaped by fear and old wounds. Darkness does not craft new shapes. It distorts the old ones so that you no longer recognize what is true. That is why I call you to wipe the mirror of your heart every day, through prayer, through honest conversation, and through humility that listens before it judges. The most frightening thing about division is that it multiplies exponentially. A wrong thought births a wrong emotion. A wrong emotion produces a wrong reaction, and a wrong reaction creates a real misunderstanding. The dust speck becomes a hurricane, the small weed becomes a poisonous vine, the thin crack becomes a deep fracture. But I warn you not to frighten you, but to awaken you. If you catch the dust while it is still small, it will never become a storm. If you pull out the weed while it is just a sprout, it will never overtake the garden. If you seal the crack while it is still thin, your heart will never break. I want you to hold this awakening as a key, one that protects sacred relationships from forces that appear invisible, yet carry destructive strength. I see how darkness never comes by shouting, but by subtle strokes like water seeping into stone foundations unnoticed. It does not attempt to destroy a relationship in one moment. It chooses to cut each thread of connection within you, one filament at a time. It slowly makes you doubt the ones I sent to lift you, and in that moment of suspicion it plants its root. I have watched countless souls convinced they were betrayed, when in truth, they were simply listening to the wrong whispers. When you see changes with no explanation, remember this. The enemy does not collapse trust on day one. He drills day after day. He does not strike your heart. He strikes the confidence you have in others. And a soul that has lost its trust will isolate itself from the blessings I have given. That slow erosion begins with very small questions. Are they truly sincere? Are they secretly against me? Are they taking advantage of me? I do not ask you to be naive, but I want you to know that such winds are not from me. I do not sow suspicion, I sow clarity. Pay attention to how doubt always arrives before truth, how misunderstanding appears before dialogue, how emotion comes before evidence. That is the strategy of darkness, to make you react faster than you discern, to make you close your heart before you learn what I am trying to teach you. And when it succeeds, the relationship appears to have naturally fallen apart, when in reality, it was slowly eroded layer by layer. I also see how you choose silence when you are hurt, not because you are mature, but because you are afraid to reveal weakness. Silence does not heal. Silence only lets the wound settle. There are matters that could be resolved with a single sentence, but you hold them inside and let them dissolve into acid, and that acid melts trust. Darkness does not need to break down the door. It only needs your silence long enough. When you do not speak, it speaks for you, weaving false narratives in your mind. When you do not ask, it crafts answers for you. And when you begin to believe those answers, you cut with your own hand the cords I once tied with grace. Every relationship I place in your life has a spiritual structure beneath it. It is like the network of roots connecting trees in a forest. Each tree draws strength not only from the soil, but from the trees beside it. When a tree is severed from that network, it slowly dries. Separation never arrives in a single day. It is the outcome of small decisions, speaking less, sharing less, trusting less. You think it is turning the page, but in truth it is depletion. And when you are depleted, you will look for someone to blame instead of admitting that you have been cut off from the flow of blessing. I want you to remember that division always begins in your heart before it manifests in your life. You may blame others, but the enemy has never won through their actions. He wins through the empty spaces within you. When you allow those empty spaces to grow, they become the cracks through which darkness creeps in. I call you to look at the source, not the surface. When you remain anchored in me, Your relationships may be tested, but they will not break. When you drift away from me, even the strongest cords will snap. I want you to recognize that division is not a direct assault, but a slow erosion designed to sever you from divinely assigned connections. I see how you expect a major event, a loud argument, an explosive moment, an obvious fracture to declare that everything is broken. But before such things happen, there are subtle tremors within your heart, like thin fractures too small for the natural eye to see, yet strong enough over time to break an entire bridge. Division rarely enters your life as a sudden storm. It comes like drops of water falling on a stone day after day until the stone wears down and no one remembers which drop was the last. I want you to notice those drops, so you do not wait until the bridge collapses to realize you neglected it for too long. Every thought that is not brought into the light, every wound that is not laid before me, every time you choose silence out of pride instead of conversation in love, these are the erosion points, darkness, exploits. It is never in a hurry because it knows that if you let your guard down, time will do the rest. I see the relationships I have placed in your life as golden cords connecting your soul to others so you do not walk this path alone. These cords are not only for sharing joy, they strengthen you when you are weak, correct you when you drift, illuminate you when you are dim, and remind you of me when you want to give up. Because their value is so great, darkness never attacks their strength directly, it attacks your perception of them. It does not tell you, cut the cord, but whispers. Hold back a little, protect yourself more, trust less. Every time you listen, you retract a piece of your heart, and the spiritual cord loses a little of its original tension. You do not feel it immediately, but slowly, the connection that once pulsed with life becomes faint, then distant, then foreign, and you do not know when it happened. I do not want you to wait until that moment to turn to me and ask, why did everything become this way? I also see the ways you allow this erosion to unfold so naturally, as if it were simply the normal progression of every relationship. When another person becomes busy and shows up less, instead of coming to me for reassurance, you go to other voices, asking questions that only deepen your doubt. When they stumble in a moment of clumsiness, instead of looking at the entire journey they have walked with you, you lock your eyes onto that one moment as evidence that everything has changed. Division does not require a violent blow. It only needs the moments when you allow yourself to retell the story in a way that benefits your wounds more than the truth. I am there. I remind you of the times they stood beside you, of the moments I used them to save you from collapse. But if you choose silence before me and continue to dialogue with your own assumptions, you will eventually believe that distorted version as the only truth. I do not tell you these things to make you blame yourself or feel ashamed. I speak so that you understand you are not powerless in what is unfolding. Slow erosion is not destiny. It is a chain of choices. Every time you feel discomfort but decide to swallow it without praying, without asking me, without speaking honestly to the other person, you are giving a crack another chance to grow. In contrast, each time you dare to place your heart before me and say, Father, I feel distance forming, I feel doubt pulling me away. Please help me see what is true. You create space for me to step in, to mend, to redirect, and to stop the erosion from taking root. I never stand outside watching the relationships I have planted decay, but I need you to agree for me to intervene early, not when everything has already fallen into silence. I also want you to understand that slow erosion does not only damage relationships, it wears down your own heart. Every time you surrender to a bitter thought, you lose a portion of the tenderness I placed within you. Every time you allow yourself to collect someone's fault as evidence for self-protection, you are letting your heart grow harder toward forgiveness. One day you will realize it is not only your relationships that have become distant, but you yourself have become resistant to opening up to anyone new. That is when the enemy does not merely succeed in dividing you from others, but in pulling you away from my design. For you, the design of someone who knows how to love, how to connect, how to walk in unity, and how to reflect my heart. I warn you because I do not want to see you become isolated inside wounds. I am willing to heal if you give me the chance. Today, I invite you to look at the relationships you know I have placed in your life, those that now carry a blur, a distance, an unusual silence. Do not rush to conclude. Maybe it's time to let go. And do not accuse me by asking, why did you let this happen? Let me show you where the erosion began, where you chose silence instead of conversation, self-defense instead of honesty, suspicion instead of trust, withdrawal instead of drawing near. I do not promise that every relationship will return to exactly what it used to be, but I promise you this: if you walk with me in the light, no relationship born of my will be lost to invisible seeds of division. I will protect what I have written if you agree to cooperate with me, to identify and halt the erosion at its very beginning, inside your own heart. I open your eyes not with thunder, but with the first rays of light that touch the soul, gentle as dawn, yet strong enough to make darkness tremble. Division never begins with a shout. It is sparked by small cracks, fleeting thoughts, feelings too faint to name. I saw the moments you dismissed them because you believed they were too insignificant to matter, but it is these small things that hold the greatest power, just as a single drop of water striking stone again and again eventually drills through it. I do not blame you for not seeing them. You only have the eyes of the flesh, while the seeds of division are recognized only by spiritual light. I open your eyes so you see them as I do, not as scratches, but as fault lines warning of an earthquake. You must understand that a single misunderstood sentence can become a firewall. A minute of angry silence can become a chasm. Averted eyes can become an unscalable wall. I want you to see from the root, not merely the surface, because if you only heal what is visible, the hidden parts will continue to decay. Early discernment is the protection of the relationships I have ordained for you, like a farmer who notices the worms before they ruin the harvest. You must not wait until the storm arrives. You must read the clouds from afar. I have seen you walk within the relationships I have blessed you with, without realizing that behind every word, every gesture, every silence, there are invisible strings connecting soul to soul. These strings are not cut by a blade you can see. They are worn down by constant friction, by small misunderstandings, by wounds you consider harmless. I know there were times you believed you were stronger than that spiritual scratches would heal like injuries on the skin, but they do not heal. They seep, they soak, they infiltrate your thoughts and change the way you see others. A word never explained becomes suspicion. Suspicion becomes assumption. Assumption becomes a wall. And before you understand what has happened, you are already distant from the one I placed beside you. I do not want you to live by reaction, but by spiritual discernment, to see what is coming before it comes to heal, what is still soft before it calcifies into stone. I open your eyes so you may hear the hearts of others, not just the words they speak, but the ones they could not say out of fear, exhaustion, or pain. Understand this: many divine connections do not break because of one wrong action, but because of a chain of silences in the very moment you were supposed to speak. Remember this: the enemy does not build cannons to break walls. He only needs a crack. He does not attack you with storms. He uses fog. He does not throw stones. He whispers. And those whispers do not come from outside, but from within. They do not need you. Perhaps they are not sincere. You are being forgotten. You are not valued. I have seen the moments when you believed those whispers more than my words. I do not condemn you. You are human, but you must know that the inner world is the first battlefield, and you do not win in what you speak. You win in what you think. A strong spiritual bond requires only one unlit thought to be dragged into the abyss. I open your eyes, not so that you may suspect others, but so that you may suspect the lie. Awareness is not looking at people with guarded eyes. It is looking within yourself to detect the strange wind that has begun to bend the rhythm of your heart. When you stand in the light, every false thing trembles because darkness will never possess the calm of someone who knows where they belong. There are fractures you fail to notice because they travel along the most familiar path: exhaustion. When you are worn out, you think less and feel more, and when you feel more, you interpret through memory instead of truth. I have watched you use past experiences to explain the actions of those I have placed beside you. You remember the ones who once wounded you, so you suspect those who never intended to hurt you. You remember moments of abandonment, so you assume every silence means people no longer need you. I open your eyes to break that cycle. Your past is not the map for every relationship. You must learn to look at each person with new light, not with the shadows of old nights. I will remind you to pause when your heart begins to make assumptions. I will place peace in your soul when doubt tries to sprout. I do not let you walk into the battlefield unarmed. I clothe you in armor, and that armor is called discernment. If you can see the arrow before it is shot, you will not need a shield. I open your eyes because divine relationships are not merely people you love, they are joints of destiny. I place them in your life to support, strengthen open paths, and impart strength. Each person is a door, not an empty seat. When a connection is severed, it is not simply a broken emotion, it is a path of destiny disrupted. I do not want you to lose the people I have sent just because a tiny speck of emotion was left uncleaned. I want your soul to recognize when the atmosphere between you shifts, when a once effortlessly flowing conversation suddenly becomes heavy, when words turn sharper than usual. Those are the moments you must stop and look with spiritual eyes. You are not there to defend yourself. You are there to protect the spirit of unity. Only when you see the root before it grows deep can you preserve what I have given without losing it to things you once considered small. I have never warned you to condemn you. I warn you the way a potter touches a cracked vessel, not to break it, but to rescue it before it shatters. There are relationships I have placed in your life like stone bridges stretching over deep ravines. They are sturdy, enduring, able to withstand storms. Yet even they have small gaps where rainwater can seep in. You often look at the bridge and assume it is unbreakable, so you ignore those droplets, but I do not. I see every hairline fracture, every tiny seam, every change in internal structure that human eyes overlook. I do not call you so I can list your faults. I call you to hand you the hammer and mortar so you can repair the crack before wind, rain, and time turn it into a collapse. You once believed that warning meant you had already failed, but you never knew that I warn because I protect. For if I did not love you, I would let everything fall apart and only then call you. But because I love you, I stop you at the first step, so you will be spared from the final fall. I do not send people into your life like leaves loosely hanging from a branch, but like pillars beneath a roof. A pillar is never built to decorate. It is built to bear weight. There are seasons you walk through without recognizing who is a pillar and who is merely shade. I have seen you rely on the shade and neglect the pillars because the shade is easy to love while the pillars do not perform. Yet the ones I send to carry you are often the quiet ones, the unassuming ones, the ones who never show off but bear the burden in your place without your knowing. When you are wounded, they are the ones who quietly lift you. When you lose direction, they are the ones who guide you home. And when seeds of division arrive, they do not strike at the surface of connection where emotions visibly meet. They burrow into the foundation where the spiritual bonds live unseen. I warn you not to make you suspicious of them, but so you may recognize who is carrying weight for you, so that you may protect them instead of breaking them unintentionally. You often misinterpret my warning as scrutiny, like a young farmer staring at wind passing through his rice field and fearing that I am angry. But the experienced farmer sees a different wind. He knows it is the signal of coming rain, and he gathers the harvest before the entire season is swept away. My warning to you is the same. I do not examine every gesture or mistake to tally them. I read the sky for you. I sense the shifting pressure. I hear the movement in the waves where you cannot, too. I smell the grass when lightning is near. You live moment by moment. I see the entire season. You look at a hurtful sentence. I see the danger waiting when that sentence becomes a mindset. You feel a passing discomfort. I see the spark of a future wildfire. When I say stop, it is not because I want to restrain you, but because I want to preserve the spiritual intersections I have woven for you with time and preparation. Do not think I warn you because I doubt you. I warn you because I know you will ache if you lose those I have sent to uphold your journey. Divine relationships are not parasitic vines clinging to a trunk. They are the roots and trunk of the same tree. The vine drains life to survive, but the root and trunk share life to grow. I have seen you mistake them before loving the vine because it is vibrant and green while ignoring the roots hidden beneath the soil. I do not want you to carry that mistake into the new season. I want your eyes to discern relationships that come to take from you and those that come to lift you, push you, and strengthen you. If I remain silent, you will lose what is most precious, simply because you did not recognize its value in time. I know there are people easy for you to love yet carrying little spiritual value, and there are people difficult to understand yet holding the keys that move you deeper into destiny. I warn you so you do not trade gold for copper, so you do not abandon the foundation stone for a glittering pebble on the surface. I have seen you stand between two paths, one smooth with the promise of easy comfort, and one rugged, yet leading to deeper growth. I saw you lean toward the pleasant path, hearing voices urging you to avoid complexity in the name of peace. But peace is not the absence of friction. Peace is the presence of truth. The people I send to strengthen you will not always soothe you. They will touch the places you have not yet healed. They will call you back to your position when your soul drifts. They will speak what you do not want to hear but need to hear. When I warn you, it is not because they are wrong. I warn you so you will receive the sharpening as a gift instead of mistaking it as an attack. You must not run from those I use to hone you, for a blade cannot sharpen itself. I want you to understand that love is not fragile emotion, nor is it weak concession to wrong. Love is the fire I place in your soul to burn away seeds of division before they grow into trees. When darkness sows doubt, it does not sow into your logic first. It sows into the most sensitive part of your heart, the place where you were once wounded, the place where you felt unseen. The love I teach you is not the love of the world, where people love to be reciprocated, love to possess, love to control, but the love that stands upright in the storm without losing identity. Look at the sunflower in the desert. It does not choose the sun yet, it turns toward it. That is the love I teach you, not denying the existence of darkness, yet never bowing to it. When you stand in love, you stand in me, and when you stand in me, division no longer finds a place to cling to your soul. The love I give is like a protective circle that no arrow of suspicion can pierce. Imagine the warriors of old. When they were surrounded, they did not scatter. They placed shield beside shield, forming an impenetrable wall where every seam locked into the next, extinguishing each spearhead. Love operates within relationships in the same way, not because each person is perfect, but because they know how to shield one another. If you stand alone, the first arrow will strike straight through you. But when you stand in my love, within the spiritual bonds I have appointed you, are encircled by shields I prepared long before you realized you would need them. I have not called you to be a solitary warrior. I have called you to step into the circle of protection where kindness, patience, and forgiveness interlocked like tightly fitted armor. That circle is not built in an instant. It is forged every time you choose love over pride, forgiveness over bitterness, and dialogue over anger. I know there are moments when love feels like weakness. You have seen people give freely and be taken advantage of, and you fear being wounded, fear being ignored, fear becoming the one others look down on. But the love I ask you to stand in is not the love of the flesh. It is the strategy of heaven. When darkness attacks a relationship, it does not begin with a blow. It begins with slow erosion, meant to wear down trust. Yet the love I place within you can lock the door from the inside, preventing the enemy from touching the space where your soul connects with those I have sent. That love does not deny fault. It looks directly at fault and chooses healing words. It does not deny wounds. It places a hand upon the wound and lets me bind it. It does not deny disagreement. It listens in order to understand, rather than arguing to conquer. Love does not avoid truth. It places truth under the light of the kingdom so no one has to suffer in shadows. I want you to remember, this division does not fear strength, but it fears unity. Darkness does not tremble at your roar. It trembles at the unity of those who stand together in me. The protective circle is not formed by perfect individuals, but by hearts that return to the center, which is me. Like wolves hunting prey, they do not attack the strongest deer. They attack the deer that strays, the one isolated because of a minor injury. When your heart loses its connection to the circle of love I have chosen, you become prey to suspicion, misinterpretation, and whispered voices in your mind that I never spoke. I do not want you to become the one who leaves the herd. I want you to stand close to those I have appointed, not in blind dependence, but in unity within the light. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be in the right place within the circle I have formed. And here is what you must engrave in your soul. Love is not only an emotion you give, it is a barrier you build each day. Every word spoken with kindness becomes another shield. Every moment you choose forgiveness adds another stone to the wall. Every time you choose to listen, you open a doorway through which my wind may pass. That is how the protective circle is formed, not through a single miraculous moment, but through the soul's daily decisions. When you stand within that circle, you are not only protected from division, you become a protector to those whom I have entrusted to you. Love does not weaken you. It turns you into a stronghold. And when love becomes a stronghold, every strategy of darkness is shattered long before it can reach the heart. You think division arrives like thunder with storms of rage or blatant conflict, but I tell you it comes like a thief in the night. Not at midday, not when your heart is strong, but when your eyes grow heavy, when your mind is busy, when your soul no longer holds its watch. A thief does not search for a house with barred gates. It seeks the window left slightly open, the lock not fully turned, the small gap the owner considers harmless. Division is the same. It does not strike when you are alert, but waits for the moment when your soul is weary. It does not aim at the place you guard, but at the place you overlook. And when it enters, it does not shatter doors. It passes quietly through silence, through the unguarded corners. You do not notice it because it does not break anything. It only brushes against peace, nudges, trust, shifts a single stone in the foundation I laid. Division does not seek your strength. It seeks your exhaustion. When you wear down your soul with unprocessed thoughts, unoffered burdens, and unsaid pains, your heart breeds little dark corners, and the enemy needs only one gap to slip through. You once thought the adversary would strike where you are weak in skill, but I tell you it strikes where you are tired in emotion. When exhaustion takes you, you can no longer read the motives of others, no longer hear nuance in their words, no longer recognize the difference between genuine care and accidental hurt. When you are weary, a simple statement becomes a blade, a suggestion becomes an attack. silence becomes abandonment. It is in that very moment that division begins to sprout, not through dramatic actions, but through distorted perceptions. It does not need a true reason, it only needs a soul without defenses. I have seen many souls not broken by storms, but broken by a gentle wind they never guarded against. Like an ancient tree that stands through heavy rain yet falls after a season of dryness. You think the storm toppled it, but it did not. It was the silent drought that slowly ate into the roots. Your relationships are the same. They do not collapse because of one great argument, but because dozens of small misunderstandings pile up grain of sand by grain of sand slipping into the gears of trust. You overlook them, believing each grain harmless, and you keep turning the wheel until it locks and you think the collapse was sudden. I tell you, nothing ever collapses suddenly. It always begins from one tiny point you ignored. And when you ignore it, you hand the enemy the very position I asked you to guard. You once asked me, why must the relationships you give me face trials? And I waited until this moment to answer. I do not allow them to be tested because I desire your pain, but because I desire your maturity in spiritual vigilance. Divinely appointed relationships are not open fields where no weeds ever grow. They are vineyards, and vineyards always have little foxes. No one destroys a vineyard with a hammer. They destroy it with foxes that bite the young roots, gnaw at the vines, and eat the tender fruit. And I spoke in my word, catch the little foxes that ruin the vineyards, not the great beasts, not the giants, but the small ones, so insignificant the keeper thinks they are not worth attention. I warn you about small things, not because I lack wisdom, but because I see the power of small things when they are fed by neglect. So I say to you, do not wait until the wound becomes a breach. Guard your heart like a watchman guards the city gate at night. Do not treat your exhaustion as justification to abandon watchfulness. A guard leaves his post for only two reasons: laziness or the belief that danger is gone. Yet the enemy always strikes when the watchman is convinced nothing will happen. I do not call you to live in suspicion. I call you to live in vigilance. Vigilance does not drain your soul. It protects your soul from the costly price of carelessness. And when you learn to recognize the seeds of division, in the moments when your soul is tired, you rise above the strategy of darkness. You are not merely defending. You are stepping into a life that actively protects the bonds I have appointed. You often believe that what breaks a relationship must thunder like a storm, must come through a great event or a fierce argument. But I tell you this, the most dangerous distances begin with the smallest whispers. Not accusations, but suggestions as thin as mist. Not blatant distortions, but seemingly harmless questions. A single "maybe they no longer value you" planted in your mind is not meant to begin a conversation, but to stir insecurity. I see that the enemy never strikes a fortress from the front. He looks for the loose brick at the back where the owner is not watching. Whispers come this way, not wearing the face of a destroyer, but like a friendly companion leaning close to your ear. And when you are tired, when your mind is already full of thoughts, when your heart is searching for stability, you will not ask, "Who said this?" You will ask, "Is it true?" In that very moment, the seed has taken root. These whispers never produce fire immediately. They are like a drop of oil placed on a dry torch. They wait for one more spark, a careless remark, an unintended glance, an unmet expectation. I have seen you fall into this trap many times. A silence from someone you love is no longer simply stillness. It becomes rejection. A delayed reply is no longer busyness. It becomes disrespect. A sincere reminder is no longer care. It becomes control. The whispers did that they never changed the event, they changed the way you interpret the event. When you misinterpret once, you do not correct it. You build a narrative. And when the narrative has grown long enough, you no longer see the person. You only see the version of them that the whispers have woven inside your mind. I want you to understand that a small whisper is like a sewing needle. It does not tear the fabric, it only pierces a hole. But when 100 needles pass through the same spot, the cloth decays. Relationships are the same. They are not destroyed by a single blow, but by hundreds of tiny punctures that weaken the structure until it loses its tension. I do not call you to count the flaws of others. I call you to illuminate the punctures before they become dangerous. You must understand that your soul does not analyze with logic when it is tired. It magnifies through fear. The enemy knows this, and that is why he whispers instead of shouting. He does not want you to react violently. He wants you to react slowly, quietly, inwardly. And it is precisely within that silence that he builds his nest. So I do not say to you, do not listen. I say, bring it to the light. I do not ask you to extinguish every thought, because doing so only forces you to hold your breath. I want you to bring every whisper before me. When you carry it into the light, you will see it is nothing more than an empty echo. But when you keep it in darkness, it will grow like a seed in wet soil. Recall the times you misunderstood because you did not ask me first. The times you lost someone important because you trusted what you imagined rather than what you discerned. I do not blame you. I want to rescue you from that cycle. You do not need to fight every whisper with your own strength. You simply need to offer it to me and let me show you what is real and what is only a shadow. Understand that not every voice in your mind is yours. Some are the residue of old wounds, some the reflection of fear, some the echo of relationships long gone. But there are voices that do not belong to you at all, nor to your memories. They belong to the enemy. I teach you to discern, not so you will distrust everyone, but so you may protect the relationships I have established. For when you expose the whispers, you not only guard yourself from wandering, you guard the cord I have woven. A relationship given by me is not easily replaced. It is a part of your journey, a thread of your destiny. I warn you so that you may cherish, not abandon. Listen to me, because many times you believe that the seeds of division arise from your weakness, your impatience, or the small reactions of the other person. But I see deeper. The source of the seed does not lie in your heart, but in a hidden force creeping between the connections I have appointed for you. It is like a drop of dirty water entering a pure stream. When you look into it, you assume the stream itself has turned murky. But the source is not the stream, it is the tiny inlet dripping in secret. The one who sows division always wants you to believe the fault is in you, so that you turn against yourself before you turn against others. When you doubt yourself, he no longer needs to attack from the outside. He has already found a seat within. I reveal this not to accuse you, but so you can see where you must resist, not against yourself or the one you love, but against the thing that seeks to turn you into a weapon against the relationships I have given you. I see clearly the strategy of the sower. He does not carry a spear, he carries a seed. He does not bang on the door, he slips through the smallest crack in your exhaustion. When you are tense, he whispers a suspicion. When you are waiting to be answered, he pours a reminder of past abandonment. When you see only an innocent gesture, he hands you a warped perspective, darker and more haunting. None of this is meant for you to speak aloud. It is meant for you to nurture in silence. The more silent you are, the stronger the root becomes. The more you think, the more it grows leaves. And eventually you no longer remember how deeply you once loved that person. You only remember the chain of reasons that convince you they have turned against you. But I tell you the truth, that tree did not grow from the soil of your heart. It grew from an invisible needle planted into your soul. You must learn to distinguish what originates from the heart and what infiltrates from the darkness. Your heart may be tired, but it still knows how to love. Darkness does not know love, it only knows division. Your heart may fear, but that fear often aims to preserve, protect, and stay connected. Darkness sows fear that leads to cutting off, isolating, and mistrusting. I give you a simple rule: Any thought that pushes you away from the person I have placed beside you, place it under the light. Any thought that makes you stop trusting before you dare to have a conversation, bring it before me. Any interpretation that makes you build walls instead of bridges, do not hold it because it did not come from you. You are not the soil of division. You are simply the field where someone has sown a seed while you were asleep. I expose the source of the seed the same way I take you to the edge of the well to see where the murk begins. You believed the bucket was dirty, or even that you had stirred the water yourself. But I show you that the murk did not come from the bucket. It came from a serpent hidden inside a crack in the stone, releasing 1 drop of poison each day into the water. That is how darkness works. It does not need to win a great battle. It only needs to contaminate the source long enough for you to reject everything good. It wants you to believe you are unworthy of holding those relationships. It wants you to believe that the ones who love you are hiding something. It wants you to believe that every glance has an agenda, every silence has a plot. I reveal this not to make you afraid, but to make you awake. If you understand that the root of the seed does not lie in you, you will stop striking your own heart. If you understand that the root of the seed does not lie in the other person, you will stop tearing the bond to pieces. I want to pull things up by the root, not merely cut off the leaves. Every unity I establish does not come from perfection, but from love that is guarded. Every breakdown does not begin with a great offense, but with a small seed that is forgiven too slowly. I teach you to look at the root, so you can preserve what has been given, not just analyze what has been lost. Spiritual relationships are not thin strings that snap at the slightest wind. They are cords braided from my intention, my calling, and my timing. You are called to protect them with my light, not with fear, not with speculation, not with defensiveness. I expose the true seed so that you can stand as a builder, not as someone being controlled by whispers that do not belong to you. I want you to pause and look at the relationships I have built around you, not as people who simply come and go, but as links in a chain I use to pull you out of the depths and lift you into new positions. When you stand alone, you think you are strong enough, but true strength is not found in needing no one. It is found in recognizing whom I have sent to complete your journey. I do not place these people around you as decoration. I place them as pillars. Like a bridge, its true beauty is not in the flat surface where you walk, but in the pillars buried deep in the ground, holding the entire structure above violent currents. If you evaluate the bridge only by the planks under your feet, you will not understand what is actually keeping you safe when the storm hits. In the same way, the relationships I give are not merely pleasant conversations. They are anchor points that keep your soul stable as you walk through seasons you have never known. They are not an optional addition to your emotions. They are critical elements of your destiny. I do not send perfect people to your side. I send lives that can be joined to the path you are taking. Some are there to lift you. Some are there to illuminate you. Some are there to slow you down before you rush toward a place that does not belong to you. Like lighthouses that are not always beautiful to the eye, sometimes rough, sometimes weathered by sea winds, but whose light keeps ships from losing direction and crashing into the rocks, so are the relationships I give you, not for you to admire from afar, but to shine on you when the night sea rises. I know when you need a calm voice, when you need a knowing silence, when you need a hand to pull you back to your feet. These moments are not coincidences. They are arrangements so that you do not push yourself out of the path I have written for you. When you neglect these spiritual connections, you do not merely lose companionship. You weaken the very position I intend for you to stand in. Remember that the relationships I ordain are not products of personal preference, but of divine strategy. I do not send companions in seasons of surplus. I place them in the times when you are most fragile, because it is then that your soul is most able to receive support rightly. A warrior does not learn to fight on the day of victory. He is trained beforehand while the wounds are still sore and the enemy still mocking. I place beside you people who can walk through dangerous terrain without knocking the breath out of your lungs. They are not there to affirm every emotion you feel, but to protect the essence I have placed in you. Like tensioned ropes stretched between cliffs, they cannot stop you from jumping, but they can keep you from falling to your death. My love for you is often revealed through their presence, not only through instant miracles. And when you walk away from them because of a passing emotion, you are cutting away a bundle of cords I prepared to hold you in a critical season. You once thought strength meant getting back up by yourself, but true strength is recognizing which hand I have sent to pull you up. There are people I place in your life not to satisfy your emotional needs, but to free you from traps you cannot see. When you stand beside them, your soul expands, your steps become stronger, and your mind grows clearer. That is the sign a spiritual relationship does not make you smaller, it makes you more grounded. I send such people to draw you out of the fog of distorted thinking, out of the noise of doubt, out of the oppression of fear. They are the arches of the bridge that link the shore of your past to the shore of your new path. And when you treat them lightly, you are striking at the very foundation upon which you are walking. I want you to learn to protect these connections as you protect your own breath, because when you enter pivotal seasons, it is they who will lift you more than anything you could do alone. The people I place around you will not always make you comfortable, but they will keep you from losing direction. They will not always agree with you, but they will not abandon you when you are weak. I do not send them so you can admire them. I send them so you can stand firm. Spiritual relationships are not a light jacket you wear in sunny weather. They are the armor you need when the winds change. I remind you of this because you are stepping into a season where each link will determine whether you rise or fall, and I do not want any seed of division to cut you away from the points of elevation I have prepared. You often think I bring someone into your life because I see your lack, because I want you to feel less lonely, because I want your soul to have a temporary place of rest. But what I do is never just about soothing emotions. I place people beside you to shape your soul into the position I have prepared. I do not form relationships so that you can pour them into an empty cup inside of you. I form them so that you may recognize you are designed to reflect light, not to beg for warmth. As a diamond does not search for tools to hide its flaws, but seeks the right pressure to cut it into its intended form, so it is with your soul. I place around you people with edges, depth, and contrast, so that they touch the sharp places in you and reveal what has not yet been refined. If I only sent people exactly like you, you would never know what you lack. You would only know you feel comfortable. But I have not called you into comfort. I have called you into maturity. There are people I place near you not to agree with you, but to make you stop. Not to flatter you, but to expose you. Not to inflate your pride, but to adjust your vision. They are like strange mirrors that do not beautify your image, but reflect your true condition. When you face them, you see clearly the angles of your temperament, the scars in your memories, the gaps in your patience. In those moments you think they are making life harder, but I know they are the hand I extend to touch the very places you want to hide. If I allowed you to stay only in environments that please your ears, your soul would slowly drift off the course of my will. The people I send are like navigation markers at sea. When you drift off route, they do not stay silent. They signal. You may feel irritated by their sound, but that irritation itself is the warning I use to keep you from crashing into hidden rocks. You still think that love from me only brings softness and ease, but my true love will not let you sleep comfortably in a place that keeps you weak. I lead you into relationships that force you to face yourself, not to make you sigh in frustration, but so you can see whether you have been living by reaction or by identity. A new pair of shoes almost always hurts your feet at first, not because the shoes are wrong, but because your feet are not yet used to their new shape. The relationships I give you are the same. They shape the way you walk spiritually, so that you walk rightly not merely according to your old patterns. If you only look for people who soothe your wounds, you will live as a patient. But if you learn to walk with those I send you, will live as someone who carries the responsibilities of a kingdom. In that place, the goal is not comfort. The goal is positioning. When I remove someone from your life, do not be quick to assume they have been rejected by me. Some I place to refine you, some I place to open the way ahead. When they have finished their assignment, their presence will be withdrawn, not because they failed, but because you have stepped into another level. I shape you through seasons of transition, not seasons of remaining the same. A musical instrument can never sound the right note if its strings are never tightened. No one blames the strings for enduring the tension. In the same way, I do not blame you when your soul feels stretched in the moments I pull you out of your comfort zone. That light pain is proof of direction, not of failure. If I allowed you to keep everyone near simply because you were afraid of losing them, you would begin to worship their presence more than my will. But I want you to learn to recognize my hand instead of clinging to human hands. There are relationships I establish not to pull you back, but to lift you higher. They are not platforms for you to rest your feet on. They are steps on a staircase that leads you to a new level. Their presence is not always gentle, but the transformation they bring is lasting. I use them as the latch on the door of your destiny. If you stand in the wrong position, the latch will not align. If you follow my leading, the door will open. Do not evaluate someone only by how they make you feel in a given moment. Look at where you are moving when you walk with them, closer to my light or farther from it. I do not send allies to pamper your weaknesses. I send comrades in arms to call forth the true strength within you. When you understand this, you will stop asking, "Are they comfortable to be around?" and start asking, "Do they bring me closer to my Father?" I want you to grasp a truth many people overlook. The enemy does not attack the weakest part of you. First, it attacks where you are strongest. It knows there are strengths that can only be unlocked when you stand together with those I have placed in your life. A single strand is easily snapped, but a bundle of cords twisted together is stronger than steel. The enemy does not waste time breaking each strand one by one. It seeks to loosen the knots that bind them. It does not need to smash the door. It only needs to loosen a few joints and let the rest collapse on its own. You notice a small conflict, a nervous look, an impatient word. Those are only surface cracks. The deeper reality is this. It is an attempt to cut you off from the place where I have set people to lift you. When you fall out of unity, you do not grow weaker merely because you lose people. You grow weaker because you step out of the position I assigned. The power of unity is not the sum of individual strengths. It is an explosive force I place in the midst of hearts aligned toward me. It is like burning coals. A single coal removed from the fire cools within minutes. But when it is placed back among the others, even a light breath can make it blaze again. You do not burn brighter because you are stronger. You burn brighter because you are in the environment I prepared. The enemy sees this more clearly than you do. It fears the power released when two people pray together, when three carry one another, when four affirm the light I have placed in you. It knows unity creates capacities you yourself have never measured. That is why it does not need to defeat everyone. It only needs to convince you to walk away from the community I have given you. I have seen you fight alone, and I have seen you fight in unity. The difference is like a lone warrior facing an army in an open field versus a whole company advancing shoulder to shoulder. When you are alone, you must use all your strength just to stay standing under every blow. When you are in unity, you do not merely fight. You are covered, supported, and reminded of your identity whenever your vision grows dim. The enemy hates this. It knows that if you fall in isolation, it will not need a second strike. It does not need to kill you. It only needs to make you doubt the ones I have sent. That doubt becomes its sharpest sword. An attack from an obvious external enemy can be healed quickly, but a wound born from inner suspicion can make your soul bleed itself dry. This is why I keep warning you, do not take unity lightly. Unity is not artificial harmony, where everyone avoids conflict. Unity is the ability to stand behind one another when the wind shifts, the willingness to hold another's hand when they no longer have the strength to stand on their own. When I place relationships in your life, I do not send people merely to decorate your weak places. I send links in a chain that compress force, fill in gaps, and intercept the subtle blades you cannot see. The bonds I give are not for your comfort, they are for strategy. Like city walls, they are not built so those inside can admire them, but so that when arrows fly, the people within still live. You may think I am being too severe. I am not severe, I am realistic. The enemy knows exactly how dangerous you become when you stand alongside the ones I have appointed. If you understood the power of unity, you would no longer see conflict as a sign of failure. You would see it as a fracture I am inviting you to mend, not because the relationship is perfect, but because the connection carries an assignment. When you learn to sit down, to talk, to understand, and to forgive, you are guarding the gate before the enemy slips through the crack. When you walk away because of emotion, you are swinging the gate wide for it to enter. Do not wait for collapse to call on me. Guard the fortress when you first hear the wind. I say this not to make you afraid, but to make you awake. Unity does not merely save you from breakdown. It opens gates of strength, promotion, and revelation of my will that you will never see while standing alone. There are feelings that come to you like gentle waves, born from your soul, your memories, the things you have lived through. They are the true whispers of your inner life. But there are also feelings that come like storms without a cause, blowing stronger than any real event, dragging you into reaction and panic when nothing has actually touched you. I want you to discern between them. True emotion usually has a root, a story, a context, a path leading up to it. It may hurt you, but it does not blind you. Exaggerated emotion stirred by darkness is always sudden, without thread, without evidence. Yet it pressures you to believe it is right. It magnifies fear like a distorted mirror, making you think you are seeing reality when you are only seeing a stretched shadow. When you do not discern, these amplified waves can lead you to tear down the very relationships I established for you simply because you trusted what feelings said instead of what I was doing. I am teaching you a spiritual rule. True emotion draws you inward to understand yourself. Exaggerated emotion pushes you outward to fight others. That tearing in your heart does not come from you. It comes from the power that wants to turn the battle inside your soul into a battlefield between you and those I have sent. I do not forbid you to feel. I simply want you to keep authority over your feelings. True sorrow leads you to sit down and recognize your wound. Exaggerated sorrow makes you look for someone to blame. True fear helps you be careful and sober. Exaggerated fear causes you to shrink back and distrust every outstretched hand. When you see this clearly, you begin to understand that feelings are not my voice, nor are they the compass for your actions. I use truth, my spirit, and clarity of light to lead you, not the impulsive waves that crash and fade. Real emotions have a range, a rhythm, a beginning, and a gentle place where they settle. They appear and then fade like a leaf, made wet by the rain, and then dried again by the wind. But exaggerated emotions are like an artificial storm inside your mind, not caused by weather, not caused by circumstance, but created by an unseen hand. They keep you standing under the rain long after the sky has cleared. They make you bathe in fear when no one is threatening you. They make you tremble when no one is against you. I have seen you again and again believing you were being rejected, abandoned, or looked down on, when in reality there was only an unintentional sentence, a glance that had not yet been explained, or a silence no one had yet had time to fill. When you let darkness magnify, you write a script and then play the leading role in a tragedy that is not even real, and you end up cutting off the very connections I gave you because you trust your feelings more than my word. I do not want you to become so hard that you bury your emotions, nor so soft that you are dragged away by them. I want you to stand like a warrior who knows how to hold a sword. Emotion is a sharp blade. Used at the right time, it protects you. Swung in panic, it wounds you. When you are tired, pressed, or under pressure, darkness will choose that moment to amplify emotion because it knows you are more likely to believe what echoes in your head than what I have already spoken into your spirit. Remember this: I do not speak through noise. I do not command through chaos. I do not lead you by fear. If something forces you to choose in a hurry, to react, to attack, or to withdraw and hide, it is not from me. I lead you through deep peace, through clarity that seeps into every breath. If you want to know what is true, look at your heart after the wave of feeling has passed. Exaggerated emotion leaves ashes. True emotion leaves understanding. Exaggerated emotion makes you want to destroy. True emotion makes you want to heal. Exaggerated emotion shuts doors. True emotion opens them. I do not need you to be perfect in discernment. I only need you to listen. I will remind you with very small signals, a slight unrest inside a thin inner nudge, a thought that makes you want to pause instead of react. That is me. When you begin to stop, not out of fear but out of wisdom, darkness loses its right to operate in your mind. And when darkness loses its grip, the connections I have placed in your life can no longer be broken by passing gusts of emotion. My child, I want you to understand a truth that most humans only recognize when it is already too late. The cooling of a relationship never begins with big blows, but with tiny specks of dust that no one cares about and no one is willing to bring into my light. It starts with a sentence left unexplained, an unintentional look, a promise not yet fulfilled, a thought not yet calmed, and in the darkness of silence, it begins to sprout. When you keep such things in your chest instead of bringing them to me, they do not stay small, they grow. Like drops of water falling on stone on the first day, it is only a damp mark, but 10 days, 1 month, 1 year later, it leaves a hollow no one understands the origin of. Cooling is like that, not because your heart is strong enough to hate, but because it is weak enough not to let itself be examined under my light. You assume it's nothing, you think I'll talk about it later. You hope time will soften it, but time is not the teacher of reconciliation. Time only creates distance. My light is what draws souls back to one another. A speck of dust ignored today will become a sheet of ice tomorrow. I have seen this in countless souls. They do not change their attitude because they hate, but because they are tired. They do not leave one another because they no longer love, but because too many small things have been swept under the carpet of silence. Every unspoken matter is like a tiny thorn in the palm of your hand. You do not feel sharp pain at first, only a faint snag. But as you keep holding, carrying, and touching other things, that thorn goes deeper and the blood begins to seep before you realize it. Cooling is that thorn. It does not strike your soul with force. It seeps in quietly, making you instinctively close your heart, instinctively become guarded, instinctively suspicious. You look at the one I gave you with eyes that are no longer clear. You cease to see them as a gift I have set by your side, and you begin to see them as someone who might hurt you. When you look at others through pain that has not been brought into my light, your gaze does not speak for me. It speaks for the darkness, and division begins to take shape. The small things that are not brought into my light will become night inside your mind. You often think deception comes with a roar, but it comes through stretched out silence. It does not rush in like a storm. It comes like fog covering your vision until you no longer know where you are standing. You begin to forget why I placed that connection in your life. Forget the moments when they upheld your soul. Forget the times I used them to pull you back from the edge. Then you remember only what remains unresolved. Remember their mistakes. Remember the moment of hurt, and you start to believe that this frozen memory is the whole truth. But truth does not reside in cold emotion. Truth resides in my light. When you refuse to bring your feelings into my light, you cannot see them as I see them, and you cannot see yourself as I see you. I have witnessed many relationships fracture because what was right was held back while what was wrong was fed by silence. That is the ancient strategy of the enemy, to make you keep what should be spoken and speak out what should have been handed to me. Remember, this cooling does not need a storm to appear. It only needs you to stay outside the light. A heart that refuses to open its door to me becomes a storeroom for scattered memories, and each memory begins to write its own story. At first it is, I'm a little bothered, then it becomes, they don't understand me, then they don't respect me, and finally it turns into, I have to protect myself. By the time that last sentence appears, you have already stepped out of my arms without realizing it. Because self-protection has never been the strategy of those who are in me. Those who live in me are protected by me. Those who protect themselves are living in fear. That self-defensive feeling will make you build walls, and every wall you build becomes a door through which I cannot bring light, because I will not tear down your house. I only enter when you open. When you place your fears, irritations, and tiny wounds into my hands, I do not merely soothe them, I heal them at the root, so that the seeds of coldness find no soil. I want you to learn how to bring every small thing to me before it becomes something big. Let me be the lamp in the room of your heart, not the guest who arrives after everything lies in ruins. Every time you open your mouth to ask, Father, what am I feeling? Where is this coming from? Is this truth or is it darkness? You are stopping the cooling of your heart before it even takes shape. Let me listen instead of letting silence swell. Let me define your feelings instead of letting speculation muddy the waters. Let me be the warm stream in your heart before the ice begins to form. I do not rebuke you for having emotions. My heart aches only when you let them walk alone in the night without calling for me. You do not know how many connections have been saved simply because someone was willing to place a moment of irritation, a small fear, or a quiet doubt into my light instead of hiding it away. I want you to understand that fear always seeks to take hold of your ears before it takes hold of your heart. It whispers in unfinished phrases, distorted images, and exaggerated memories, all to make you believe that you are under threat, abandoned, or despised. When you listen to fear, you are not listening with your ears, but with your old wounds. Each wound functions like a lens that bends the truth until everything takes on the shape of danger. But when you turn your ears toward me, you no longer listen through your pain, but through your identity, and the identity I have given you does not tremble before dark whispers. Fear can only live in the dark. It cannot survive in my light, because I do not speak through panic. I speak through certainty. I do not speak with accusations. I speak with words that build. You do not speak in question marks. I speak in truth. When you choose to listen to me, misunderstandings that once felt as heavy as stone turn into vapor and vanish the moment the sun touches the edge of the night. You do not realize that misunderstanding is not born from events, but from interpretation. A word someone speaks may be careless yet not malicious, but when fear serves as the translator, it turns every sentence into a sharpened blade. A step back on their part may simply be exhaustion, but when suspicion holds the pen, it sketches entire scenes of betrayal. When you listen to fear, you no longer hear the person in front of you. You only hear the echo inside your own heart. I have watched many bonds suffocate, not because people were cruel, but because you forgot to turn your ears toward me. I speak to you through light. Ask again. Slow down. See that person through their heart, not through your darkness. But when you push my voice aside, all that remains is the pounding of a panicked soul. That sound always convinces you that you must defend yourself, strike first, close the door, and keep your distance. Yet I have not taught you to wrap yourself in armor. I have taught you to wrap yourself in light. I have given you a capacity that fear will never have the capacity to see through emotional distortion. When you listen to me, you begin to see the truth behind the surface. You notice the other person's trembling, their fatigue, their hidden anxieties, the things they do not know how to express. And when you see that the coldness inside you loses its ground, light reminds you that this person is not your enemy. They are someone I have placed beside you for the journey. Light reminds you that the relationships I give are like a ring of holy fire where petty things have no right to destroy what I have joined. Light reminds you that misunderstandings are like the morning mist, thick to human eyes but gone in a moment when dawn arrives. You will discover that you do not need to fight every droplet of mist. You only need to turn your face toward the Sunday. With fear, you feel compelled to explain everything. With me, you only need to stand in the light and let me take care of what you cannot. I teach you that unity is not sustained by human effort, but by stillness in me. When you listen to me before you react, you will see how I shift the center of gravity inside your heart. Instead of magnifying every flaw, I magnify kindness. Instead of hunting for faults, I deepen understanding. Instead of building walls, I open doors. Your responses change not because others have changed, but because you have returned to your spiritual position. You no longer speak from suspicion, but from peace. You no longer interpret through fear, but inquire with honor. You no longer attack, but search for the path to untangle what is knotted. When you stand in my light, every strategy of division loses its force, because fear can only manipulate a soul that is out of breath, and you are being filled again with the breath of my life. I want you to know that unity is not a one-time miracle, but a daily rhythm, the rhythm of turning your ears toward me. The truth is, this misunderstanding never originates from me. I do not sow seeds of suspicion. I do not place people in your life to destroy you. I do not lead you into relationships just to watch them collapse. Every strategy of division has only one source: the power that wants to strip away the bonds I use to lift you up. But it can only function when you step out of the light. When you listen to me, you are no longer driven by emotions that lack alignment. Emotions still appear, but they no longer rule. I do not first change your circumstances. I change your eyes. I do not sweep the mist from the world. I bring you into a position where the sun reaches you first. And when that light shines through you, the chill dissolves as if it had never been. That position is always open to you, but you must choose to turn your ears toward me, because I do not force any soul into the light. I call them by name. I want you to know that division rarely explodes from a single violent moment. It usually grows out of prolonged silence. Those silences are like cracks in the ground after a dry season to the eye. The surface still looks intact, but beneath it, each layer of soil has already pulled apart. When you refuse to face things, to speak, to open your heart, each unspoken emotion begins to slip in like a dry root, and every day it pushes two souls a little farther apart. I've seen you choose to endure in silence because you fear that honest conversation will make things worse. Fear that speaking up will push others away. Fear that opening your heart will make you look weak. But I did not design you to protect yourself with silence. I designed you to bring healing through light. I do not call you to flee from collision. I teach you to step into it with the peace I place within you. When you enter a conversation with me already in your heart, you do not come to win. You come to see the other person's heart through the light I shine. I tell you that healing does not come from avoidance, but from facing what is real. Like a traveler in the forest who notices signs of water beneath the ground, if he ignores them, he will die of thirst beside the very source that could have saved him. But if he digs, the earth will open and the water will flow. Relationships are the same. You cannot hope for love to grow in silence, nor can you expect understanding to sprout in soil that has never been turned. Many times you keep thoughts locked inside, hoping others will just know that they will somehow guess your fears, your hurts, or your longings. But you must understand, I have not asked souls to read each other. I have asked them to speak to each other in truth. That truth is not harsh accusation, but the gentle sharing of the heart. I hurt here. I long to be understood there. I am weak in this place. When you dare to open your mouth, my light finds a way in. When you remain silent, darkness invents its own language, and it speaks in suspicion. I teach you that true dialogue is not debate, but an exchange of spiritual breath. You speak not to win, but to connect. You listen not to refute, but to understand. Like two rivers merging, they do not need to compete to see which is greater. As long as they flow in the right direction, they will join and become a stronger current. I have placed this capacity within you. When you listen with my ears, you hear more than words. You hear the trembling in the other person's heart, the unspoken fears, the hurt hidden behind their silence. And when you listen like that, your response will no longer be sharp like a blade, but like a damp cloth laid over a flame. I have watched many souls enter conversations as if entering a battlefield with spear in hand and eyes searching for weakness in the other. But I have not called you to enter as a warrior. I have called you to enter as a healer. For when you heal, I am the one who fights for you, and no force of division can stand before my hand. I warn you, my child, that distance never disappears when you ignore it. Distance is a pit of sand. One grain each day, it accumulates quietly until the place you once stepped with ease has become a chasm. I do not allow you to step into that chasm. I teach you to open your heart as a farmer opens the soil. Every strike of the blade wounds the ground, yet it is precisely how the seed finds a place to rest. When you dare to open your heart, you create room for others to enter, room for me to act. I have used many relationships to lift you, pull you out of darkness, and place you into safe territories. But if you close your heart, those relationships become rope ladders, rolled up and stored away, and you will find yourself climbing the cliff alone again. I do not desire that for you. I call you to confront, not because I want you to hurt, but because I want you to live. For honest conversations are the bridges I set between two souls, so they will not fall into pits carved by silence. Therefore, remember this: I heal not by escape, but by stepping into the places you once feared. I do not turn your emotions into stone. I let them flow like water washing the dust that clings to the bonds between hearts. I do not teach you to steel yourself into false strength. I teach you to be weak in the right place so that my light may pour in. When you open your heart to someone I have placed beside you, you are not exposing your fragility. You are opening the door for me to enter between the two souls. And when I enter, every strategy of division trembles in the dark like worms dragged out of the earth. You do not need to fight each worm. You only need to open the door to the light. I have told you many times, do not let silence stretch too long. Do not let quiet distance turn into a silent abyss. I want you to remember, relationships I establish always hold the power to heal, as long as you allow me into the middle. I want you to understand that unity is not the result of calm days, nor a reward for moments when both sides feel comfortable, nor the atmosphere where everyone agrees. Unity appears when you stand before discomfort, friction, and the collision of personalities and reactions, yet still choose to love as I love you. The ones I place beside you are not there for you to enjoy only when they are whole, peaceful, and easy to handle. I place them so you may learn to love the parts of them that others avoid. The love I speak of is not love dependent on momentary feelings, but love that walks through emotion to grasp what I call you to. When I love you, I have never waited for you to be perfect. I loved you when you were weak, when you fell, when you injured yourself. I do not love you because you are easy to love. I love you because I have chosen you. And I want you to love those I give you with the same choice, not convenience. Unity is forged from daily decisions, from small responses, from every moment you put your heart down instead of raising defensive walls. I see many souls mistakenly believe that unity means no arguments, no conflicts, no tension. But I want you to know the truth. Unity is the ability to stand together even when you could walk away. Like large stones used to build a fortress, they are neither smooth nor soft. Their sharp edges grind against one another, but precisely because of this, the wall does not collapse. If all were polished, the structure would lose its interlocking strength and crumble in the first wind. I place sharp edges within relationships so you may learn adjustment, patience, and how to find anchor points instead of escape routes. Darkness exploits the moments when you wish everything were easy, whispering, if they loved you, they would do this. If they cared, they would understand you. But I say, if you love them, you will learn to listen. If you value them, you will choose to give another chance. You cannot build unity on emotion, because emotion is a wave. Only love, according to me, is stone beneath the surface, enduring the crashes, yet keeping the shore. I teach you that loving as I love does not mean accepting every mistake, but discerning when to embrace and when to correct. Like a great tree in a storm, it does not resist every gust by becoming rigid. It bends and leans, but it does not uproot. The love you must carry is the love that bends with the winds, yet keeps its roots in the soil I have planted. There are moments when you must speak truth, even when your heart trembles, for truth does not destroy the relationship. Truth rescues it. There are moments when you must remain silent, not as suppression, but because my silence is a form of protection. I keep you from throwing oil onto the fire before you are illuminated. When you love according to me, you do not seek to control outcomes. You simply keep your heart standing in the light. I do not love you with conditions. I love you by covenant. That covenant says that when you are weakest, I will not leave. When you tremble, I will not withdraw my hand. When you are unworthy, I will still call you mine. This is how I invite you to love, not based on temporary value, but on the covenant I have written upon the soul. I want you to know that unity is the battlefield of the heart, not a competition of intellect. The world seeks unity through argument, compromise, and emotional negotiation. I create unity through obedience, through a love that surpasses logic. You cannot fully understand the one I place beside you because you cannot see them from my perspective. You see only the outer surface, while I see the journey beneath. When you love according to me, you choose to participate in what I am doing in their life, not merely what they present to you. Many souls lose divine relationships because they only see the fragments, not the gem. They see the flaw, not the purpose. They see the present, not the journey I am guiding them through. I love you not because your past is beautiful, but because of the future I have designed for you. I want you to love the people I have placed beside you with the same vision. And you must remember that unity is not the prize at the end of the road, but the road you choose step by step. It does not suddenly appear after one perfect conversation, nor is it born after a dramatic reconciliation. Unity is created when you move through moments of discomfort and choose not to quit when you remain in misunderstanding, and choose not to punish when you see the wounds of another, and choose not to add salt. I have placed this capacity in you not as a heavy obligation, but as the crown of one who carries my love. When you love according to me, you become a builder of unity. Darkness cannot steal what grace has built. Let your heart remember this: unity is not born from convenience. It is born from choosing to love as I love, strong, enduring, and unbreakable. I want you to see a spiritual principle. The enemy constantly tries to hide from you. Darkness never wins by force. It wins by empty space. It does not need to attack you directly. It only needs to weaken the love within you, to pull you away from the unity I have planted, to make you choose silence instead of dialogue injury, instead of understanding self-defense, instead of open-heartedness. But when you walk in, my love, that empty space disappears. You do not merely resist the seeds of division, you deprive them of the environment in which they might grow. My love within you is like fire shining into dry roots underground. The fire does not debate with the roots. It only needs to appear, and everything hidden loses its shelter. Many times you think you must explain, persuade, or convince others not to misunderstand you. But I tell you, before you use words, use love. When you walk in, my love, the light upon you accomplishes what your reasoning never could. The love I placed within you is not merely a gentle emotion, it is a spiritual flame. That flame burns away seeds of suspicion, distorted thoughts, and old wounds waiting for an opportunity to become weapons. Like a keeper of fire at night, you do not need to wander through the forest searching for darkness. You only need to keep the flame bright enough, and the wild beasts will not dare approach. When you tend to the love within you, when you choose kindness over reaction, when you choose forgiveness, even before an apology comes, you build a ring of fire around your soul. Seeds of division cannot survive within that fire. I have seen many souls bury their wounds and hope that time will heal them, but time does not burn away. The seed only love illuminated by my light does that. Therefore, I want you to remember, when you love according to me, you do not fight with strength, you fight with light. You often think that to resist division you need skill, logic, calmness, and emotional control. All of those have their place, but they are merely fences. My love is the foundation. A fence keeps predators away from the garden, but a foundation keeps the whole house from collapsing. When you choose love not from weakness but from intention, you lay a foundation in the relationship. Darkness fears foundations. It does not fear fences. It may scratch the surface, but it cannot uproot the core. I love you not because you are always right. I love you because you belong to me. And I teach you to love in the same way, not requiring the other person to be perfect, not demanding that everything be explainable, not needing to win. My love within you strips sharp words of their power, causes whispers of suspicion to fall away, and leaves provocations with no place to land. I also want you to understand that my love does not make you fragile. It makes you untouchable. When you walk in love, the enemy loses the power to control your reactions. It may push someone to speak hurtful words, but it cannot dictate how you respond. It may lead you into tense situations, but it cannot take away your authority. My love in you is like invisible armor. Every arrow that touches it breaks, every insult collapses on contact. I do not ask you to turn yourself into a doormat. I ask you to stand in my position, strong, gentle, firm, and unafraid. When you love, you do not bow to the darkness. You show the darkness that you do not belong to it. Remember this as something carved deeply. Division is not born from differences. It is born where love is absent. I place you different from others, so you may complete one another, not cancel one another. I give differing perspectives, so that your vision may expand, not so you may build fences. My love is the glue of the kingdom. It joins stones that are nothing alike into a fortress. When you walk in love, you are not only protecting your relationships, you are protecting the plans I have written for your life. For I always build through connection, and the enemy can only destroy when connection breaks. When you love, you are guarding a future you have not yet seen. Never underestimate this power. The love I put in you is a flame that no seed of division can survive. I do not correct you to shame you. I correct you so you can see what the enemy sees before it attacks. Weakness in the soul is not a verdict on your worth. It is an unlocked door, a gap where the wind enters a place that darkness waits to slip through. You often view weakness as failure, as a wound that proves you are not enough, not strong, not worthy. But I tell you, weakness becomes failure only when you hide it from the light. When you bring it before me, weakness becomes a doorway of learning, a place where I lay new foundations, a field I cultivate with kindness. What you hide becomes the enemy's ground. What you reveal to me becomes my battlefield. I have never demanded perfection from you before unity. I ask only honesty about where you are cracked. Those cracks do not disturb my peace, for I know how to pour oil into them, how to restore them, how to rebuild the wall you thought had collapsed long ago. I correct you because I know how to see weakness in ways the enemy cannot. To him, weakness is an entry point to exploit. To me, weakness is where I can come in. Like a potter pressing his thumb into a hollow of the clay vessel, not to destroy it, but to give it shape. You see roughness, but I see form. You see a chip, but I see the seam where fire can mend. When I reveal weakness, I do not do so for you to compare yourself with others, but so you remember that you were built according to a unique blueprint. Every soul I place beside you has strengths that lift you where you are weak, and you also have strengths meant to lift them where they break. If you insist on hiding weakness, you will never allow anyone to touch it, and when no one touches it, the enemy will be the first to do so. I want you to understand that weakness is not proof of failure. Weakness is my invitation to step deeper into your life. You often believe strength comes from keeping your wounds unseen, but I tell you, strength comes from the places where you allow me to touch them. I do not touch to hurt, I touch to heal. I do not knock on the door of your heart to accuse. I knock to bring my breath into the rooms you have locked. You once tried to stand by suppressing anger, suppressing tears, suppressing disappointment, because you were afraid others would see imperfection. But that suppression is a chain of your own making. It exhausts you, makes you tense, and makes you oversensitive to even the smallest words. I want you to know that true strength does not come from holding everything inside. It comes from knowing when to open your heart, so I may carry the weight with you. When you bring weakness into the light, I turn it into training ground. When you hide it in darkness, it becomes the breeding ground of division. I correct you so that you may learn to protect yourself from the cycles that have worn down your soul. Those cycles are not accidental. They come from the places you did not allow me to mend. Like a bridge eaten from within by termites, it still stands in the eyes of many, but a single pressure causes collapse. I do not wait for you to collapse before I repair. I repair before the storm arrives. You often ask me, why do you point to painful things when I am tired? I answer, because when you are tired, you finally listen. When you are exhausted, you no longer have the strength to resist me with self-defense or excuses. You have only truth, and I can only heal through truth. If you do not recognize weakness, you will always believe the problem lies in others, in circumstances, in fate. But when you identify the breach, you know that it is the very place where I am intervening. I do not allow your soul to remain with decayed structures. I build it solid as stone because I intend to use you in places of strong winds. You must understand that I correct you because I see your worth beyond what is present. I see the scepter in your hand while you are still confused. I see the royal garment on your shoulders while you are still trembling in the desert. I see the throne I have prepared while you are still begging for crumbs. You cannot see it because you look at the present. I look from eternity. I do not correct you to make you smaller. I correct you to expand you to the size of your destiny. Do not call weakness failure. Call it the place where I am training you. Do not call correction judgment. Call it protection. I do not want you to run from the place of pain. I want you to bring that place before me. For only when you place it in my hands can I turn it into a strength you yourself never imagined. I want you to understand that division does not begin with violent blows, but with small openings in the soul, places where you no longer allow me to fully reign. Hidden pride is the first opening. It does not show itself with loud arrogance. It begins with quiet thoughts. I understand better than they do. I see farther than they do. I have endured more than they ever have. Those thoughts are like invisible dust on a glass pane. At first you can still see through it, but then the dust accumulates, it dulls your vision, and eventually you see nothing but yourself. Hidden pride is not confidence. It is the silent removal of another person's value in your eyes. When you believe you see deeper, know better, or stand higher, you stop listening, you stop learning, and you begin to treat the one I placed beside you as a burden. I have witnessed countless relationships unravel from the inside because one soul decided it no longer needed the other. I warn you, hidden pride never stays still. It burrows and its roots drain every breath of unity. I also want you to recognize that oversensitivity is not a sign of a refined soul. It is the mark of a wound that has not been touched by me. When you are unhealed, you turn every piece of feedback into an attack, every quiet moment into abandonment, every change into a threat. Oversensitivity makes you react before you understand, defend yourself before there is danger, and strike before there is accusation. It causes you to view the one I placed beside you as an enemy in your subconscious, and once you take a stance of opposition, you no longer receive love. You only search for evidence to protect your fear. I do not want you to retreat like a small creature, trembling in the corner at the shadow of its own fear. I want you strong, but true strength does not come from building walls around your emotions. It comes from placing your emotions under my light. When you bring your sensitivity to me, it becomes antennae for discernment. When you keep it to yourself, it becomes a blade that severs relationships. I warn you that silent comparison is the most dangerous poison because it robs you of the ability to see others as gifts I have given. Comparison does not begin with jealousy. It begins with questions. Why do they have what I do not? Or why are they understood while I am ignored? Such questions are like drops of water seeping into stone. Slowly they bore a hole. When you compare, you no longer look at another. Through my light, you look through the lens of lack, and anything you view through lack becomes a threat. Silent comparison does not destroy the relationship from the outside. It destroys it from within your own heart because it makes you believe that love is finite. I tell you this, my love does not compete. I distribute people, seasons, and opportunities to every soul in a way only I can understand. Comparison makes you doubt my justice, and when you doubt me, you begin to doubt those I have placed beside you. These three gateways, hidden pride, oversensitivity, and silent comparison, do not operate alone. They intertwine like underground roots. Pride makes you stand above oversensitivity, makes you defensive, and comparison makes you isolated. Together they form a cycle. The enemy loves you, stand above others, fear others, and withdraw from others. When you fall into that cycle, you no longer hear my voice. You hear the voice of a heart distorted by pain, but I will not leave you there. I correct you not to diminish you, but to untangle the secret hooks, pulling you away from the community I designed. I will touch your pride not to shame you, but to bring you back to the proper stature of humility. I will touch your sensitivity not to make you tremble, but to make you strong. I will touch your comparison not to wound you, but to show you the treasure I have placed within you. Therefore I call you when you notice the earliest signs a thought that elevates yourself, a disproportionate reaction, a whisper of comparison. Do not ignore them. Do not wait until they become a cut. Do not wait until the relationship is already cracked. Bring them to me immediately. I will never judge you for having weakness. I only judge when you nurture weakness in the dark. I do not make you worse by exposing you. I make you stronger by healing you. You will find that when these three gateways are closed by My light, the roots of division within you will wither. I do not protect you by removing the wind. I protect you by teaching you where to build the walls. And when you live in this vigilance, unity becomes the atmosphere you breathe, not a goal you struggle to reach. I want you to understand a truth. Many people miss division does not die through logic nor through worldly wisdom. It dies through humility and honesty. When you choose humility, you relinquish the need to prove you are right, and in that moment, the seed of division loses its air. Division needs ego to grow, self-importance to take root, and defensiveness to be nourished. But when you lay your heart before me, when you lower yourself under the light, I will do what you cannot. I will suffocate the darkness at its source. When you say I may be wrong, please help me understand you are cutting off the enemy's supply line. You are not becoming weaker. You are creating space for me to act. I do not want you to win against your companions with sharp words. I want you to keep them with a soft heart. Softness is not surrender. It is a weapon in my kingdom because Satan has no strategy against humility. Honesty is the fire that burns away the seed of suspicion. You often try to hide what hurts you, conceal what makes you uneasy, because you fear that speaking it will get you judged or dismissed. But honesty does not diminish your position. It returns you to the position I gave you. When you say, "This hurts me, this makes me anxious, I am afraid of losing you," you are not weakening yourself, you are allowing me to touch you. The enemy despises transparency because it cannot operate in light. Every strategy of division requires darkness, internal conclusions, quiet accusations, unspoken reactions. But when truth is spoken with peace, darkness loses ground. I have seen many relationships collapse because they chose silence to protect their image rather than honesty to protect their love. I teach you this: when truth is spoken with love, not to attack, it becomes the thread that rebinds what is beginning to unravel. Humility and honesty are not instinctive reactions. They are spiritual choices. I know you have instincts to defend, to close the door, to turn away when you feel hurt. But I call you into a higher realm, not reacting to the first wave of emotion, but responding as a soul shaped by me. When you place love above pride and unity above ego, you strip the enemy of its weapons. Do not wait for others to understand you before you open your heart. Do not wait for the storm to rise before you seek repair. You must walk first as a builder of peace. I do not need you to prove yourself perfect. I need you soft enough that I can shape you. The weak in the eyes of the world are the strong in mine, because they have surrendered the sword of self-defense into my hands. I teach you to observe the seed of division does not die when loud apologies are spoken. It dies in the very first moment when you choose not to hold on to bitterness. When you feel a sentence tightening your heart, do not let it sleep through the night. Do not let it ferment. Bring it to me first, then bring it forth in peace. Do not speak to win. Do not speak to retaliate. Do not speak to tilt the balance. Speak to restore unity. When you speak to the one I have placed beside you and say, "I misunderstood, I thought that, but now I am asking to understand," you have already closed the door of darkness. I have seen countless storms die in their shells simply because one soul chose to ask a question with humility. I have also seen countless relationships break apart because one soul stayed silent in fear and let imagination do the work of truth. In the end, you must remember humility and honesty do not make you small. They raise you to the stature of heavenly unity. Those who wear the crown have no need for masks. Those who stand in their true identity have no need to defend themselves. When you know you belong to me, you do not need to win through words, because your victory is found in keeping the people I have sent into your life. Be careful, for the seed of division can only live within a closed heart, but it dies instantly when it meets a heart open before me and before others. I do not demand perfection from you. I ask that you dare to live truthfully in the light. When you do so, every strategy of darkness decays before it ever flowers. I want you to understand, a secret of the kingdom, unity is not merely harmony between you and another person. Unity is a spiritual gate into streams of blessing that no prayer alone can reach. When two souls stand together under my light, not for personal gain, not for control or comparison, but for the purpose I wrote for them, heaven responds. What you cannot overcome in isolation, you can defeat in unity. What you cannot carry alone, two hands can lift. And what I have prepared for you always includes space for others to stand beside you. It is when you step into kingdom unity that my guidance becomes clearer, because I do not speak only to a soul locked inside its own assumptions. I speak to a community reflecting one another. The enemy despises this, because it knows that an isolated soul is easily shaken, but souls properly aligned become a wall of fire that I place between heaven and earth. I tell you, you were not destined to fight alone. I formed you, but I also formed those who stand beside you to protect, strengthen, and reveal the things you cannot see. Unity opens blessings in a way you cannot imagine when you still think in terms of me, them. I do not pour blessings into scattered individuals. I pour them through a flow. When you stand in the flow, blessings move through you, not merely toward you. The relationships I place between you and those I send are not simply vessels of comfort, they are conduits of growth. That is why every force of division attacks the connection before it attacks you. When unity is broken, the flow stops. When unity is preserved, blessings multiply. I do not speak this as theory. I have inscribed it upon the seasons of humanity. A family that knows how to unite will surpass shortages the world deems impossible. A community that upholds love will reap far beyond the effort of any individual within it. Do not ask, where are my blessings? Ask, has the stream of my blessing been blocked at some connection? For I bless those who do not hoard, but open themselves so that my flow may circulate. But unity does not only unlock blessing, it unlocks revelation. I do not give revelation to a soul fighting to prove itself right. I give revelation to one who listens to others with respect and asks questions with the spirit of seeking truth. When two or three gather in my name, a new layer of sight opens, not because they have formed an alliance, but because they gather my light from two or three directions and merge it into a single beam that pierces the darkness. You see what the other does not. The other hears what you cannot. And I use that difference as a catalyst to unlock doors a single soul cannot even knock upon. I do not hand the keys of a new season to pride. I hand them to harmony. Revelation often appears around the table of conversation, not in the fortress of isolation. That is why I tell you, keep your heart soft. Do not let self-defense rob you of the opportunity I use others to show you what you have never recognized. And when unity is established, guidance in the new season becomes sharp as a blade. You no longer walk alone in uncertainty. You walk in the shared witness of souls who know how to hear me. I have written this into the laws of spiritual operation. I give signs, people bear them. I give direction, the community affirms it. I speak, and love protects my word from doubt. When you walk alone, emotion can blur your vision. When you walk in unity, confirmation steadies your feet. Spiritual decisions are no longer based on fleeting impressions, but on light I shine through many hearts. Do not fear when I connect you to others. I do not send excess people into your life. I send mirrors that reveal the hidden corners of your soul. I do not place them to control you, but to protect what I am building within you. My guidance in a new season always comes with spiritual witnesses I, myself, choose. Unity opens the way, not through shouting, but through daily choices. You hold a word instead of letting your wounds speak. You listen instead of reacting. You draw near instead of retreating. Every small action is a paving stone on the road toward the revelation you have been praying for. I do not lead you into the new season by closed intellect, but by the softness that learns from the souls I place beside you. When you choose love, even before you understand, you open the doors of the kingdom. When you choose unity, even while the wound is still tender, you make the enemy step back. When you choose to trust me rather than your assumptions, you lay the foundation for my blessings to spread not only upon your life, but upon those I have entrusted to your care. I want you to know this: every unity I establish is not something you must clutch by your own strength, but something your identity becomes a magnet for drawing the right people and the right season to your life. When you stand in the identity I have ordained for you, you do not need to fight to keep anyone, nor convince anyone to stay. Those who belong to you will stand as firmly as the trees I plant in good soil. Identity is not a slogan. It is the position of the soul, a position from which your light radiates not because you strive to shine, but because I have already placed that light within you. The enemy always wants you to believe that you must strain to be loved, must prove yourself to be chosen, must force yourself to avoid being left behind. But I tell you this: when you stand in the place I designated, the things I have written in your destiny move toward you. You do not chase the blessing runs toward you. You do not chase acceptance finds you when you live in your truth. And this is not wishful thinking, it is the operating law of my kingdom. Your identity is like a spiritual summons. When you stand in your true identity, the things that do not belong to you can no longer cling to you, even if you try to hold on to them through memories, emotions, or habit. You once held on to connections I never wrote into your destiny simply because you were afraid of loneliness or believed they were your last anchor in a season of confusion. Yet you did not know that when you stand in your identity, those connections fall away without you needing to fight. They fall not because you failed, but because they cannot cling to a soul whose eyes I have opened. I do not desire you to endure the judgment of the world, for the world will always say you are not enough, not similar enough to others, not aligned with their standards. I want you anchored in the truth that you were formed in my image, not in the idea of any person. When you stand in this truth, those I send to you will see your value without you begging to prove it. They do not come to drain you, but to share the weight of glory I have placed on your shoulders. I have watched you seek connection from the fear of loss, and I have seen that fear shrink you within the very relationships I sent to lift you. You feared being hurt, so you stayed silent. You feared being misunderstood, so you yielded. You feared abandonment, so you traded away your spiritual integrity just to hold on to a fragile warmth of attention. But I never intended for you to love from fear. I intended you to love from identity. When you love from identity, you sow what I have given you, not what you lack. When you love from identity, you build others with the light I have placed within you, not with the emptiness inside you. When you love from identity, you know when to pause, when to step forward, when to forgive, and when to walk away. And I tell you this, it is not indifference. It is the wisdom of one who stands in the light. True love does not cling with tears. It is anchored by the guidance I place in your spirit. There are things I have written into your life long before you even learned to desire them. Such things may be delayed, blocked along the way, or buried beneath the ashes of time, but they are never lost. Only when you stand in identity do they begin to find their way back to their rightful place in your life. You ask me why the right opportunities arrive at the wrong time, why the right people approach from the wrong direction, why doors that should open remain shut before you. I answer you because you have not yet stood where I appointed you. Blessings do not fall into the hands of a soul pretending. They fall into the hands of one who stands in truth. When you step into your rightful position, you do not chase. You simply open your heart. For everything I have written remembers its way home. I do not shape the universe around your wants, but around the identity I have given you. And when that identity is ignited, everything I have designed returns to the center, to the rhythm, to the season I intended. I leave this final word for this portion. You have walked far too long with the mindset of, what must I do to keep this? But I am pulling you into a new mindset. I only need to stand in who I am. You do not chase love. You reflect my love. You do not fight for respect. You reveal the worth I placed within you. You do not protect relationships with fear. You guard them with spiritual integrity. When you stand in identity, you do not labor to force life into alignment. Life itself begins to realign around you. And I declare this, as long as you remain in my light, no seed of division can find a home in the bonds I have written. For what belongs to you will come, and what does not belong to you will fall away without you needing to fight. Thank you for listening to this message today. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that together we may receive the living word, build unwavering faith, and walk in the infinite love of God. Amen.